Well, Connor Hellebuyck has officially requested a trade publicly. Now, as we all figured out, it was privately that he requested a trade. Some speculation about if that was true or not. And he came out with this, and I want to make this known, that I'm going to read this out and just start it from the beginning. This is from Connor Hellebuyck and his agent on his official statement. So I'm going to skip from the first two sentences. Obviously, it is just beginning with thanking his time already in Winnipeg and taking a chance on him, especially being drafted. But then, several months ago, I privately requested a trade. I have tried to handle the situation quietly and respectfully while giving the organization time to explore its options. With training camp approaching, I feel it was important to publicly confirm my request. My position has not changed, and I believe moving on is the best path forward for me and my family. I appreciate everything Winnipeg Jets fans have meant to me throughout my career and hope a resolution can be reached soon. And this statement has taken the hockey world by storm because it's official now. We now know he is no longer going to be a Winnipeg Jet. At least that's what it sounds like right now. I don't think he wants to come back. Now let's look at a couple of key factors in this statement. And the biggest thing to me is he said several months ago. Now, depending on when you're talking about that, we are towards the end of August, which means several months ago, we're pretty much looking around February, March of this year. So, or even January. So, the biggest question is, when do we all believe that he officially requested a trade? And it was probably after the Olympic break. That is what I believe, and I think a lot of people will also come up with that conclusion. And who knows? Maybe he took a chance on himself early and he said, you know what? No, I believe I could play at a high level, and I'm going to prove it in the Olympics, so I'm going to tell them to early enough and be like, hey, I request a trade. This organization is just... The furthest he's gone is the Western Conference Finals. In Vegas' very first year, he got defeated by them. By that point, he was an inexperienced goaltender. You know, a lot of people blame him for that series loss as well. When you look back at it, he definitely didn't help in certain games where the game was going fine until he made a mental error, which is fine. A young goalie's going to do that. But this team has never been good enough to reach that level of greatness ever again. And the closest they've gotten is the second round. And I think Hellebuyck is starting to feel it. Like, he's starting to feel it. And with the Four Nations tournament and with the Olympics, I think he knows that I'm not winning in Winnipeg. Like, the organization, we don't keep the players we need to. And especially when you start losing players. When you can be a place like Florida, Vegas, Tampa, Dallas, where it is amazing to go. I want to go. Carolina, I want to go there. I want to go there because I want to succeed. I want to go there because I want to win a championship. I want to go there to compete for the Stanley Cup. Not many people view Winnipeg as that. It's hard to get free agents. You know, it's a place that a lot of people have argued why they have a team again. And I like Winnipeg. I think their fans are awesome. I don't think they should lose their team because of this. I think that they just need to make it more inclined to figure out ways to make players want to go there. But for Hellebuyck, if he did this after the All-Star break, and I'm going to keep calling it that, but you guys know what I mean, he clearly knew that, hey, this is probably the best my value is going to be, and this is the time that you should trade me. I think you'll get a lot for me, and you could do your rebuild or even just a retool. Maybe, hell, you're going to be a playoff team next year, but it's because of a lot of the pieces that you bring in that you're going to have a good future, and then I could go compete for a Stanley Cup. Now, think about what would have happened if he did get traded. Hellebuyck would have been the hottest guy on the trade market for several teams. Thinking about the East alone, Buffalo would have been interested. I think that Montreal would have been interested. And you look at some of the other teams, I don't think like Pittsburgh or Philly would have gone in and made that decision. But like for sure, those two teams would have made that decision to go out and get him. I think that you look at Vegas would have been. Now, mind you, Vegas, they were taking a gamble on Carter Hart no matter what. But I think if Vegas knew that, hey, we're going to lose a player for a certain amount of time, and Connor Hellebuyck is probably a better option than right now an injured Aiden Hill, that could have been an option for the Vegas Golden Knights. We know that Edmonton probably would have been heavily invested and interested. We know that the Kings probably would have called them to see what they could have figured out. I think Utah would have been a team that would have called them and tried to get something worked out. I think that Connor Hellebuyck not getting a trade done, or the Winnipeg Jets not getting a deal done, affects them a lot. Because I think that Vegas and all these other teams that overpay genuinely would have overpaid for another superstar. And it's about what you want. Do you want a prospect that you're going to have to eventually deal with, or is it a player that you want a haul of players in return? I don't know how that's going to work out. Now, what have we learned from this summer? Well, we've learned one thing. Buffalo is this close to getting a deal done. Remember Kevin Weeks posted his eye emojis and a picture of Connor Hellebuyck, and everyone said, this is not a drill, it's happening. He's about to get moved, and we all assumed it's Buffalo. They're highly interested. At the draft, they tried to acquire him. They said the asking price was a little too high, and I don't know, with his age, I can understand. With his contract, I kind of understand, because he did just sign a big contract not too long ago. But if he's willing to move his no trade clause to go to Buffalo, I think if you want to show and prove that you're all in now, especially with a team like Buffalo, who I feel like did lose a lot this offseason. I don't know if they're going to be a better team than they were last year. But, I mean, if they have Hellebuyck, I mean, I think that he's going to steal you and win you games 110%. And I think workload could also be a big part of it. Like, maybe he wants to go to a team that doesn't overwork him as much, so that way he has a little more juice when it comes to the postseason. It's very difficult for these goaltenders to play around 60-something games. You know, if you're playing more than half of your games, you know, it's going to be a significant time. You know, backups tend to play around 15, 20 games, depending on the team and the organization. But if you have a solid goalie, you don't want to put him to play at least 60 games. And I just think that's a little too much for a goaltender. I truly think that he did want to get this done. I think that Buffalo has been close a couple of times, but some reason the deal isn't going. And maybe it's because, you know, nobody wants to, you know, talk about how, is it prospects? Is it potential returning value? They want players instead of the prospects. They don't want picks, or they want a mixture between picks and players. And if you're not going to give them the players they want, well, then they're going to want more picks. I don't think they really want prospects. You know, it's going to be an interesting deal to work out eventually. Now, a lot of people might compare this. Well, how is this going to be compared to Dylan Larkin? I think a deal gets done way faster, because the difference between that is that Larkin, the team is very heavily suited on, and we don't know what Winnipeg's intentions are, but that team is very much, we want a center in return, and they know they're not going to get one in return. So that's going to be a lot harder to get a deal done. Whereas I think any team could just go up to them and say, you know what, let's get this deal done. It is going to be very intriguing. I do think a team like Montreal and Buffalo will be interested. I think if he had to choose between those two teams, it's going to be Buffalo. Even though I think Montreal would be a great fit for him, but I think that he'll go somewhere like Buffalo instead. Is there a team I see that will probably come out of the woodworks to try to get him? I don't want to say it because I don't think I have a 10% probability it will happen. But Vegas. But they tend to do whatever they need to do to get their guys. And if they could somehow get Hellebuyck, all of a sudden this team defensively looks good. They have their stars up front. They just got to rely on young guys to hopefully take a step. I don't see them. I don't see a team like Edmonton. I don't see some of these teams that everyone is going to be predicting. I think more likely than not, it's going to be an East team. And more likely than not, it's going to be a team like Buffalo. It just makes the most sense. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I love Connor Hellebuyck. I hope nothing for the best for him. And I hope obviously it sounds like Stuart Skinner will be the goalie, and hopefully Winnipeg, they do have a bounce back year, and maybe they find their goalie, and maybe they could figure out a way to use the pieces they get from this trade to make their team even better. And we all know, sometimes the superstar goalie does help you, but let's not act like no one knew who Bussy's name was about 5 months ago, or that I shouldn't say that, but like a year ago, nobody knew who Bussy was and how he was going to be a star. Logan Thompson 5 years ago wasn't even a big star, and he's a starter on his team. You look at all these guys, you don't see them as starters, but they get put in certain situations and they become stars and fantastic starters. So that's all you need. That's why Adin Hill has a job. Like Adin Hill, because he had one good run, is got a huge contract, and he showed before when he's competing with another goalie that he's actually one of the most solid goalies you can have. So for Winnipeg fans, I know this is going to hurt a lot. It's going to suck a lot. But at the end of the day, if this helps your team get better in the future, I would do it in a heartbeat. And for Buffalo, you just got to hope that this isn't going to eventually be a move that shoots yourself in the foot. Because now, if your team regresses, well, what's going to happen with Hellebuyck? Because now you already know that he wants to win, and his time is ticking as a goaltender. And if you go a year and two with not being successful and back into a good playoff push again, what's going to happen? So let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below as always. Like, subscribe, favorite. Thank you guys for continuing to smash the subscribe button, like button. Make sure you follow and click that notification bell so you never miss an upload, a video. Make sure you follow the shorts, and I will see you all in the next one. Adios.